Hey all, welcome to Meteorology Lab. There's a look at Texas from the air about an hour ago. Very beautiful sunset, and I figured sending a drone up is a good way to let you guys look at what Texas really looks like from up above. And yeah, not much to say here, just a little bit of cirrus moving in from the west. Let's head out to the charts. We've got a lot of weather going on in California this evening. You can see a lot of rain there from San Francisco down to Los Angeles. San Joaquin Valley has a lot of shower activity in that area. And as you might guess, frontal system moving in. The pressure gradient showing that we've got low pressure offshore in this area here. And then inland, we've got high pressure in the Four Corners area there. So summing that up on the thickness and isobars, looks like we got a thermal trough offshore right there, indicating a cold air mass right there. So it looks like a front is extending maybe something like this right here. Possibly a warm front through the LA area here. I definitely don't see much in the way of thermal contrasts up to the north there. It looks like that's all down to the south. And the strongest baroclinicity appears to be right in that area there. And then looking out east, we've got our outgoing system. Not much left of that. A little bit of cold air still infiltrating the northeast and the Great Lakes area. And then up in Canada, we've got a frontal boundary up there for sure. Looks like a new high coming in from the Arctic ice pack moving south. And I think what we got here is like a leading edge running from about Saskatoon to Edmonton and then back up through around Prince George and up to Juneau. So there's the location of that front, and I think what we have here is a little bit of a warm front, maybe something like that right there. And that in turn would make this an occluded front through that's not very good. So anyway, that's an included front right there through Manitoba and Hudson Bay. Okay, let's look at the rest of the maps. There's the radar showing those showers out in California. It's pretty quiet out east, maybe a little bit of shower activity there around southern Jersey down into Maryland, and some more showers in the Columbus, Georgia area. Let's take a look at the upper level charts and look at things from above. There's our 200 millibar analysis, and I think we do have a active subtropical jet down to the south. We see we've got about maybe 70 or 80 knots in through here, so that's a little bit of a weakness. And then we pick up stronger winds down to the south. That could actually be a branch of the polar front jet. And then we've got some more of that. That could also be subtropical. And the best way to differentiate that is to go down to 500 millibars and see if we see a reflection of that. And I think we see probably a little bit of a reflection, maybe 30 to 40 knots over Florida. However, they do appear a little bit weaker down in Arizona. So it appears the primary surge of that polar front jet goes up from Southern California to Utah, and maybe not so much a polar front jet in through this region. So putting that together, there's our polar front jet there, and then it looks like we have a subtropical jet in through South Texas like that. And then I think all of this, I think that's all polar front jet activity. And then we do have an active northern branch way up to the top of the chart there in Edmonton and down to International Falls. And then another way we can look at that is to go to 850 millibars, and this goes to the lower tropopause. Looks like we have a little bit of a baroclinic low over Mississippi and some sort of offshore low out west of California. So that appears to be the 850 millibar front. And then another weaker front down in the Gulf Coast, something like that right there. Other than that, around the U.S., it's pretty quiet, just a little bit of a lee side trough from Montana down to Colorado. Westerly flow predominating there at 850. And looks like a little bit of a backdoor front coming into Minnesota, Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas right there. So that's bringing a little bit of cold air down into the backside of this frontal system down on the Gulf Coast. Okay, so with that in mind, we can actually use some of the advanced products out there. One of them is College DuPage. That's a good analysis site to go to, and they've got isentropic maps and cross-sectional analyses. So we can try using a bit of that. The only problem with the cross-sections is they do have a focus on the central U.S. So that's not of much help if you're out east. But we can give it a try and see what it looks like. I think the stronger baroclinicity is probably going to be along that line right there, Green Bay down to Louisiana, because that's along the backside of that low that's right here. So let's see what that looks like. Looks like we have some bad data there. But looking at the other fields, well, the red is going to be the isentropic surfaces. So there's a couple surfaces there. And I don't see anything here that looks like the top of the cold air mass. Maybe a little bit of a indication right there. I'm not seeing a whole lot of detail on this. Let me take a look at some of the other charts. We'll try Denver to Ohio. And there you can see the slope of the terrain in Kansas and Colorado right there. And I think that probably right here is the top of the cold air mass. Maybe intersecting the ground there around Colorado. And then out here in the mountains, that's probably more of a tropical air mass in that region. So that might be a feature that we might look for on the SKUTs. So maybe around Kansas City or Topeka, somewhere in that area. We've probably got the top of the cold air mass at about 700 millibars right there. So what I'm showing you, this is kind of a way we look at the atmosphere three-dimensionally. Let me try to bring up that sounding there. SKUT 449 at 0Z. And we'll bring up Topeka there. So I think we might see, yeah, there it is. There's the top of it. Right there. So above that, we've got the tropical air. We extend that down, sort of between like moist and dry adiabatic, maybe something like that. We extend that down, and we've got temperatures in the 70s Fahrenheit. So that's definitely a cold air mass in the mid and upper part of the troposphere. And then below that, this is the old polar air mass with a polar origin there. So that's how you can go about putting the SKUTs and the cross-sections together and get a three-dimensional picture of what's happening. And then there's the clues that come from experience, like up here at the top. Tropopause up above 40,000 feet. That's a very high tropopause, and that's indicative of some warm air. So even though we have northwest winds in the mid and upper parts of the atmosphere, that is kind of a a warm air mass in that region. There's the temperature anomaly for this evening. Yeah, that's as of 2 hours ago. And on the right here, there's a scale showing the Celsius degree anomaly. So very warm conditions out there in the western and central U.S., and that's a reflection of that warmer air we have in the mid and upper troposphere. It tends to intersect the ground over the higher terrain. And then up to the north, we do see confirmation of that cold air coming down out of the Northwest Territories and Yukon. So much cold air coming down. Let's see if the surface data came in. Yeah, let's take a look at this. I just want to see the temperatures up north. Probably right on target for this time of year. Looks like minus 10 to minus 20. Let's plot up the rest here. We'll do pressure. And I can definitely see that cold air coming in through Alberta and Saskatchewan here. And let me plot the fronts. This is one thing you can do in Digital Atmosphere. I'm using Digital Atmosphere. This is a program that I've written. And if I want to plot the fronts, all I have to do is go up to the top here and plot fronts after I've imported the frontal data. And you can see it kind of coming up here. And this uses frontal data that comes from the National Centers for Environmental Prediction. And the frontal data looks like this. Let me see if I can show this to you. ASUS front data, that's it right there. And you can see that there's this product here. This is the coded frontal bulletin, and you can see that came out, let's see here, about 45 minutes ago. And it's got coded data indicating where the highs are. There's the latitude and longitude there, another intensity, latitude and longitude, and then it's got the positions of all the fronts. And so that's what this program does. Among other things, it goes in and plots this data. So that's kind of where that comes from, and we get these really neat maps like that. So there's the air coming down from the Northwest Territories, dropping the temperatures from about 20 down to single digits and below zero. So much warmer up there in Canada compared to the same time a week ago. And we can also see that front coming into the California coast. There's the inset position. They went kind of far north with that boundary, but like we indicated, they've got it going through the LA area. So yeah, this could be pretty much, that's one possibility there. And we can see north of that front, we've got a lot of showers from the isentropic lift ahead of that warm front there. Now let me see if I can do a cross-section. This is one area where the program does need some work. So I'm going to just kind of give this a shot and see what happens. I'm going to try going to cross-section. It's probably not going to take that. Well, when it does work, you do get some pretty neat three-dimensional pictures on here. So that's something I'm probably going to have to do there for another time. But as far as the other data, let's take a look down in Texas and Louisiana. I've got the isobars on here kind of coarse, and that brings out the detail. And you can see along the Gulf Coast there, there's a low-pressure area. Let me focus that in just a little bit more. One thing you can do on here is adjust the grid used for this analysis. And I'm going to boost this up to 70 by 70. And let me try analyzing that, bring the smoothing up just a tiny bit. And let's try plotting that data again. That'll take just a second here. I'm using one of the more advanced analysis schemes here to get the isobars. And yeah, you can kind of see the cyclonic turning of the winds just north of New Orleans there. But it's not a very baroclinic system. Temperatures feeding into the back of the system, only in the low 50s. And then on the other side, it looks like some of the warmer air is just offshore there. Upper 60s there, but not a lot of cold air coming in that backside. So there's the position of that low pressure system, and that's gradually moving towards Florida and should be in that area tomorrow. Okay, let's grab a look at the satellite data from overhead. And this is from the polar orbiter data, and you can see offshore there's that Pacific system, and when we go offshore a little bit further, we've got some of this closed cell stratocumulus in here. This is indicating some of the more unstable air due to the cold atmosphere aloft in this area. That's due to that thermal troughing, cold air aloft helping to create very unstable conditions in that region. So in between that and the relatively clear air here, that's where we're going to expect to find the front. So somewhere in there, and you can actually take this data and kind of look at the cloud features, and you can kind of use that as a guide where to place the front there. So we could go something like that. Sometimes I'll look for Arcus clouds, trying to place the front. And then we get up to that baroclinic leaf, which is up in this region here. And the front, the cold front tends to be along the back and south side of that, and then the warm front tends to be along the south side of that baroclinic leaf, something like that maybe. So the bulk of that baroclinic leaf up here, that should be north of the warm front. So things are unstable there, and I'm sure Ron Chalfant there is going to have some weather to report for today. Okay, let's go to the geostationary data. I guess we'll take a look at the water vapor imagery, and there we go. You can see the system spiraling around out there in California. Okay, David Moore is our first viewer here, finally catching the webcast. S. Kinney there in Oregon, and Ron Chalfant calling that rain there an inch with more to come. First rain in months. Sue M. in Indiana is thawing out for a few days. Fred Reamer is also joining us. Carl Burkhoff says, hey, everyone, didn't think I'd make it. Finished splitting early. Funla Tech is here. Burl H. says Ghost 13 has been shut down and is headed for retirement. No images since this afternoon. We got Kevin McKinney here, and Dave Donut in Alberta. Mr. Manlett in northern Illinois, finally above freezing. Couldn't walk in my own driveway due to the freezing rain last night. We got Alexi there in Texas, lower 60s. David Moore got severe storm forecasting, already 65 pages in. Good. You know, I hardly ever promote my books on here. I should might as well show you this real quick. I do have some books on my website there at weathergraphics.com. And I don't know if that's actually going to come up. Internet has been acting kind of funny here. Try that one more time. And I can probably grab it from the local files here. Looks like I got an old version there, but this is what you see if you go to weathergraphics.com. And I've got a few books in here, and among them is Severe Storm Forecasting. That's the one there that David is talking about, and there's some information on there. So Severe Storm Forecasting is a book that I wrote back in 2012, and that covers techniques for severe weather. And then my latest book is called Instability Scutean Photograph Handbook. And that is finally in print. And that should be here next week. So definitely head there and pick up a book if you can, and that support the project here, and that pays the bills here. Okay, back to the satellite photo. This time we'll give you the infrared here and look more at the eastern U.S. Storms in Louisiana from Carl Berghoff there. Decent rotation. David Moore asks, did I get a drone for Christmas? No. I've had that drone for over a year, but haven't used it much. And I just got a wild idea to send it up and see if we could use it for the webcast somehow. Megan John, almost up to 40 degrees, 24 there in Minnesota. Electric Dog is here. Carl is prepping for midweek storm. 6 inches expected there. Trish Ann Lou asks, could Wisconsin see 6 inches? We'll take a look at the GFS there and see. Mr. Manlet says the Weather Channel is forecasting 1 to 3 for northern Illinois. And David Donut commenting on digital atmosphere there. Michael Lowe got forecasting severe weather, severe storm forecasting, and it's awesome. Have just a chapter or two left. Ron Chalfont says the books are well worth reading. I appreciate that. Carl says GFS has an interesting track near Green Bay by 15Z Thursday. And Michael Lowe says, hoping the snow threat for the weekend here in Memphis pans out. Wow, Memphis, that's right up the road, and yeah, I guess we're going to get a little bit of that down here, at least some of the cold weather. All right, let's see here. What are we going to check out now? I'm just going to try to bring up the dynamics a bit. There's the 500 millibar heights and vorticity. See if I can stretch that down a little bit. There we go. And current chart is looking like that. So a lot of the stronger cyclonic vorticity is still offshore, but some of the lift is affecting California right there. And a couple smaller, I guess you could call it impulse waves or small-scale waves moving through the flow here. This actually looks like a pretty good one going through LA right now. See that right there? That's a very small-scale trough. And ahead of that, we've got the upward motion, and that's affecting a lot of the deserts and the San Joaquin Valley. And we also have small-scale ridges. So there's probably a little bit of something in here, and I'm just going by the height contours like that right there. And then I think there's another one up in this region. And then there's a trough through the central U.S. like that, but not much moisture to work with. And let's watch the dynamics come in. You can see a couple waves coming into LA. Southern California, this one comes through about 2 or 3 in the morning. So maybe another round, and it looks like probably the big wave comes barging in tomorrow morning. And this is more like a channeled pattern because it looks more like a glob here. So this is associated more with a jet moving its way into California. But there is going to be destabilization as this approaches, as the height falls come in. And then that will be crossing into the southwest deserts on Tuesday and late Tuesday there. And then it will be heading across New Mexico and Texas there for Wednesday. So we're going to see weather deteriorating here in the central U.S. anywhere from I-70 southward. Then by Thursday, we'll see that approaching Arkansas and Louisiana there. So this is a pretty strong trough, and it is kind of digging to the east-southeast. So there should be some pretty good weather associated with this. And then looks like another trough heading for the northern plains in this area here for Thursday. And then it looks like another trough is coming in behind, sneaking back in there through Washington and Oregon. So you see right, it's not just the curvature here of the contours, but also the clustering of this of these waves in here. So this is kind of indicating some destabilization and lift passing through this area, and that'll probably be approaching the northern plains by Saturday. So let's put it together, and I'm going to try to grab the snowfall product while I'm at it. Let me see if I can do that. Okay, so I've got that loading. Okay, so this will be dominated by two main features. One is the system in the Gulf that'll be coming across Florida, and then the other system there in California that will be crossing through the southern Rockies. So here we go. Advancing the frames forward. Weather deteriorating in the Mojave Desert into Las Vegas during the day tomorrow, and this is what it looks like by the time we do the weathercast tomorrow. And so I think we've got the front looking like this here. And this is a Anna front. You can see how a lot of the precip is well to the west of that cold front right there. And then the system in Florida, that is definitely pretty weak. I'm not even sure I can place that anymore. That's definite frontalysis down in that region. And I'm just probably going to place a stationary front kind of like that for Tuesday. And then we see the approach of, or the establishment of lee side troughing there in Colorado and Wyoming. And that's normally what we see when these strong jet patterns are pulling out of the Great Basin area. So we advance this forward through tomorrow night into Wednesday. System starts emerging in the high plains, and we've got very strong low pressure there in Colorado. And it looks like our front is starting to emerge in West Texas right there. And let's see, where is the warm front? I'm not really sure. I might go something like that for the warm front. But we also should see the establishment of the dry line somewhere in this area right there. And that's partly due to the southwesterly component to this flow out ahead of the cold front. And then we have a Canadian polar front working its way south. So that's going to be diving southward through Wednesday and Thursday. All right, so looks like this is going to hit Kansas for the most part. Good cyclogenesis there Wednesday night into Thursday. And then we get the Canadian front kind of merging with the Pacific front. Two fronts coming together, and also the dry line, so it is going to be kind of a complex pattern. And let's see here. There's the remains of that Florida system. However, due to the southwesterly component, this is going to be kind of a dry system. So it looks like maybe a few high-based showers initially, and then possibly on Thursday, we may see some thunderstorms get going in Louisiana and Mississippi. So anyway, here's the leading edge of the front there on Thursday early afternoon. And the Great Lakes also looks pretty active there. And looks like some snow showers up there around Lake Superior for Thursday. And possibly some lake effect snows there also. And now we're up to Thursday night. Cold front advancing very quickly into the western Gulf and into Mississippi and Tennessee. And then things deteriorate up in the northwest. Kind of where I was showing that wave up there. We've got some definite action up there in Washington and Idaho. So the track on the southern system, GFS is going for Mississippi up to the Appalachians. And there it goes, and most of the freezing and frozen precip will be well behind that surface front. Okay, so there it goes. System coming up through Pennsylvania and up through New England. And then behind that, a lot of cold air advection into the Midwest and southern U.S. and into Texas. And there it is, big 1040 millibar high moving in this weekend, bringing a lot of cold air south. And the 540 line, which is the usual demarcation between liquid and solid precip, all the way down to southern Georgia, Shreveport, and Dallas there. Here comes another wave in from Alberta during the day on Sunday, working its way down the baroclinic zone. So that'll be coming into Colorado Monday, and then approaching Texas. So you can see there's another system coming together right there. So a little bit of frontogenesis probably in this area here, calling for maybe some snow there in Little Rock and Oklahoma City on Monday. And then we get this inverted trough, kind of a reflection of that upper level energy. Okay, and then another system comes in from the west, and we're starting to get kind of far out. So we're looking in the crystal ball at this point, but it does look cold for the central and northern U.S. there, and pretty stormy out west there for the 18th, 19th, and 20th. Wow, there's another system coming in. More bad weather for the I-44 area up to I-57, Chicago, Champaign, Indianapolis, and Detroit there. Yeah, so we're going to have a lot to look at over the next couple weeks here. Okay, a little discussion in there about chat. Oh yeah, we forgot to bring up the snow. Let's take a look at that real quick. And the GFS, that's probably better than anything I could come up with at this point. Yeah, there goes a fresh layer of snow from west to east across Canada, so that'll be a good zone for polar air development. And you can see that other system coming there through Colorado and New Mexico. And here's the impact of the snow in Minnesota, Washington, and the UP. It looks like we're going for probably about 4 to 8 inches in most places. And then here comes a little Alberta Clipper. And then we're looking for the next system coming southward on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And the GFS here going for up to 10 to 14 inches in Arkansas from Little Rock to Fort Smith there. Let me just click on this and I'll show you the SCU-T in that area. We can take a look at the column there. This is going to be during the day, about lunchtime on Monday, the 8th. I'm sorry, that's not the 8th. That is, let's see here, 15th. Are we going to have a map? I don't know. No, we'll skip that, I guess, here. Anyway, yeah, going for a little bit of a max here in eastern Oklahoma and north Arkansas, and then that heads northeast, and looks like it dries out a little bit, and then another system coming in from the Pacific, and that's got to track more towards Chicago and Detroit. So if you have any plans for the Midwest traveling in that area, you may want to keep an eye on the weather. Okay, Michael O says the European model has been showing the threat for snow here more, but the GFS has been trending toward it. I think Michael O is talking about Memphis there. Brett Dean mentioning 31 degrees in southern Jersey. Ice and slippery conditions there. And Sue M in Indiana saying that forecast Friday is for rain, snow, and then rain. So different layers must be at different temperatures. All right, let me try one more shot at that. Yeah, let me see if I can bring this up here real quick. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now we're looking at Monday at 6 p.m. there. around Little Rock. In fact, there's the dot right there. So we're looking just west of Little Rock there, and this shows the column in that region. And there's the 0 line. So the vast majority of this is going to be freezing or frozen precip here. In fact, it's all below freezing except for a very thin layer, so this is probably very favorable here for snow. So, yeah, this is a lot of fun to play around with. Go to pivotalweather.com and click on the map and take a look at the profiles. Some pretty neat capability there. I remember 10 years ago we used to go to Earl Barker's site for all these products. Yeah, this WX caster. And we've got so many more new products nowadays that we didn't have back then. Things have really changed quite a bit since then. Anyway, that's the site there, WX caster. And anyway, and now we use Pivotal Weather for a lot of this stuff now. At least that's one of my favorite sites there. Okay, so that's about all I got for today. I appreciate you all joining, and hopefully we will see you tomorrow. Take care.